whence I came. And I gave it the letters KT95 because what it was non-translatable as I could figure it. So after a long years went through, and I happily said, this is the thing I would like to do, is go home. Going home, that's the whole thing. And I equated it with all the things that we do as humans of that nostalgia to be home, and we put that at a physical site somewhere where we were born or where we grew up and these kinds of things, and I tied it all to that. And that going home process also was a part of the scientific things that we get into as humans. The idea of gathering information and knowledge, or listening with multi-hundred-million-dollar telescopes to hear something from out there, hoping what? Or traveling to the moon and to stars. It's that urge, that going home urge. That's what it looked like to me. And that worked wonderfully for me. That was a great, great developing thing, that thing to go home. And I even remember the curls playing, which was a term for young teenage kids, and playing the games and playing in those wild games that they played, and indiscriminate types of games. I wanted to take home what I had learned here and give them to the curls and let them play some new games. Anyway, to make it very short, and it gets long, I'm sorry I get so windy. What happened in that normal course of events, and this is a span of years, one of my non-physical friends, this inspect type, which is short for intelligent species, which to me always equated to a non-human. Well, somebody laughed anyway, good. This whole process of going home was so important to me that I didn't know how to be sure to get there. So this inspect taught me what I have labeled in my loose terms the quick switch method, which is a simple means of you're here and you want to be there, so it's like stretching yourself like a rubber band to where you want to be and letting go here and snap, you're there. It's that simple. And he taught me that in this one run, and that's how I first learned that. And with that method, sure enough, there I was. I wanted just a quick visit. I hadn't been there for years and years in my physical life. I wanted just to reinforce it, to feel what it was. I didn't want to stay there. I just wanted to feel it. Sure enough, the quick switch works and click. There I was in the beautiful rolling clouds. There was the constant change, the kaleidoscopic change in color. And here was the music flowing in and around like that. And I lay back and just reveled in how beautiful this was, how wonderful, how enchanting. It was exactly as I remembered it. And I thought, this is indeed worth going home for. And as I lay there, the thing that has always been, quote, successful, and I must have said it to you earlier, that gets into my act is my analytical left brain gets into the act and does something, and that's the only reason that I can make things work. And it, as I was lying there, reveling in this and wallowing in it, my left brain triggered something like a little itch. And I said, what's that? And after a little bit, a little itch again, and I thought, something wrong? And I looked and felt these beautiful, bubbleless, rolling clouds and watched them. And after watching them consistently again and again, I was startled because there was the itch, click. The same pattern was repeating itself. What I had seen, quote, 2 minutes earlier or 2 eternities earlier was back again. It was like an endless loop of this patterns and colors moving like that around. And I watched it again to be sure that it was in a loop. Exactly the same roll going here, went around, and here it comes again. And I thought, damn. And so my itch got bigger. And I listened to the music, and carefully, and here's this, and it went around, and here's a whole bunch of others, and again, or a certain time later, I said, oh, excuse me, Shahid.
Yeah.
And then I said, I'll give it one more shot. I backed out of the clouds and the music and went down to where the curls, young kids as it were, little vortices of energy, were playing. And I pulled out of my bag of tricks and says, hey kids, how about some new games? And they looked at me with this, new games? Who would want to play new games? They said, oh, these are new, they're fast. We don't want to play any new games, get away from us. And they went on playing their Super, Crack the Whip, and everything else like that. And I couldn't get them to play. And I stuck my games back in my bag, as it were. And then this great realization came to me, and it was a shock, because it was a cumulative thing. I couldn't go home. There was no question about it. That I couldn't go home because I didn't fit anymore. The glove that I had become, the hand would not fit that glove of home. It was a great, deep sadness that I realized I could not go home. Conversely, with that same realization, I also knew why I phased out of KT95 and came here. A very simple reason. Can you gather a reason what it was? I was bored. I was bored. I wanted change. I wanted progress, something other than playing games or lying in the clouds. And it was a very, very deep sadness that held me for a long time, perhaps 2 or more, 3 years maybe, where I didn't have any particular goal because it was a lost dream, as it were. Recognition that I couldn't do that. So naturally, one reaches out and grabs for something else, and this inspect, short for intelligence, species friend, I thought that's what I would like to become, one of the inspects. I have to become that. It's important that I become that, because they are what to me were godly. They had all the attributes that seem to be in. And also, then to reinforce that, I said, well, could I get into your inspect land or your inspect state just a little bit? And she said, oh, sure. And he took me over to this place, and here was this flow of intense warmth, friendliness, love, beings moving in this direction. And they were all heading for this inspect land. And I think I wrote about that in Far Journeys. And that became my goal immediately from that on, because of the tremendous sense of unity that was expressing itself within that flow moving into inspect land. So from that moment on, I decided joyously I'm going to be an inspect. And the continuing relationship with this being did not denigrate it. In other words, it was if that was sort of accepted. And so that went on for 4 or 5 years or whatever, joyously. Here I am planning, when I get this side of my being human completed and go get on my way here, I can go be there. It was great stuff. Until